What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to TDPHINSTALK, home of the real Miami Dolphin fans. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news coming out of the NFL reported by Ian Rappaport. Yes, we have some breaking news. Dallas Cowboys star running back Ezekiel Elliott is one of the players who tested positive for coronavirus. His agent has confirmed. The good thing is, off the bat, Ezekiel Elliott is feeling just fine, okay? He is feeling fine. It was a test that was taken last week, and the reason why he took the test was because he had realized he was around someone who had COVID-19. So that prompted him to take the test, and it officially showed that he himself had COVID-19. Now, this is loaded, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of implications that come with a player having COVID-19 here, June 15, 2020. June 15, 2020. And guys, the NFL is trying to follow its process and open up. This is huge. This is huge. First and foremost, we definitely, right now, he has no symptoms. He's feeling just fine, thank God. Now, and we pray that that doesn't change. And I have the full confidence Zeke is going to be perfectly fine. Healthy guy, in shape, should have a strong immune system, takes care of his body, obviously. He's a professional athlete. So those individuals should be just fine. But again, we've seen cases where strange things have happened. We're just going to be optimistic, as I always am, that he's going to be just fine regardless, okay? But this is massive, man. This is massive. This is massive for the sports world. Number one, the NBA is already talking about coming back, but you have all these players saying that they don't want to. This news with Ezekiel Elliott can have a huge implication on that. The NFL saying they're allowing staff into the building and they have specific dates for things to start up again. This can delay that big time. We're talking about an NFL player. This is massively concerning. They're talking about only having 2 preseason games. Guys, if we even have a preseason now. I mean, some people, man, it ain't that serious. No, really think about it. The cases have peaked, guys. I don't know if you all know this, but about a month ago, the cases went down to about 16,000 cases a day. It was on the downtick because we quarantined, people staying at home, being safe. We went from having 30 plus thousand cases a day down to 16 in a more capable testing environment. Now, all of a sudden, the last few days, the nation has been averaging about 24, 25, 26,000 cases a day. It's starting to tick back up. And some would argue, yeah, that's only because more testing is available. That's true as well. But I don't know what the future holds in testing, because with all the protests, with all the large gathering of groups that have taken place over the last 2 to 3 weeks now, man, we don't know what the implications of everything that's been going. It's been so much going on, and that's the scary part about it, because there's been some important things happening. But at the same token, we've had all these important things that has to be addressed happening in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of COVID-19. It's crazy, man. Florida alone is seeing some of its highest cases ever. It's getting crazy, and it's, oh my gosh, it's almost like a headache right now, because you can't win for losing right now with what's going on, because for once we're bringing attention to something that should have not been ignored for hundreds of years, and then the whole narrative can change in the upcoming weeks, because we can pass the spikes that we had in the early highs. It can go even beyond that. It's just, oh my gosh, it's looking intense in Texas right now. It's looking intense in Texas, looking intense in Florida. It's looking intense in a lot of states right now. But the media is not talking about it because there's a bigger issue on the media forefront right now, and it is a huge issue. It is a huge issue. It is a huge issue. And everybody's being allowed to go back to work now. We've opened back up. This is compounding concerns. Compounding concerns. And I know that I'm bringing this from a sports perspective that, listen, but this is bigger than sports. This is bigger than sports. I don't know if we realize over 120,000 people have lost their lives. This is bigger than sports, man. And let me say this about sports. Sports tends to be the one thing that bring a lot of people together. It gives them satisfaction. Do you know what sports has done for this nation? Sports is like a stress reliever in this nation, because the truth is 90% of this nation go to work, bust their behind every day just to pay bills. And the few things they have to look forward to is sports and social media. Some would argue that's sad. The few things we have to look forward to is sports and social media. And some would argue that that is sad. It's the truth. It's the truth. I don't know what it is, but my heart is feeling heavy at this very minute. My heart is feeling heavy because it's like a weight sitting on me right now, just thinking about everything that is going on. And this is exactly why I thank God every single day. Because the reality is things could be worse, but you gotta find the glory in it all, man. This is heavy hearted. What's happening is socially with injustices, what's happening with our nation in general with sicknesses. The exact reason why it's more important for us all to pull together and be one, man. We're not even talking about the people that are constantly losing their lives to this right now. And I understand why, because there's a bigger issue that can't go ignored. But we have compounding things that's happening right now, and we have to keep clear minds and try to get through it all together and make better days for us regardless. Make better days for us, man. And Miles Johnson said people are missing their families, so you can't really blame them for going out. No, I get it. Whatever. It doesn't matter what spectrum you look at it of, go out or don't go out. People have their reasons and their reasons. The issue is it's going down out here, man. Regardless of the justification or anything, I'm not here to criticize nor congratulate for whatever decision any individual is making. All I know is it's going down. It is going down out here. Mm-hmm. It is going down. It's going down, man.
How you doing, CD?
I'm all right, Sandy. Make some sense of it for me if you can. If you can.
Well, first and foremost, prayers to Ezekiel Elliott and the other Cowboys players, and also the Texans players, who said, I guess Texas is just one of those states right now. So first and foremost, it's about them, getting healthy, because we've seen, where people have, died due to this virus. So that's more important right now than anything. Just prayers. I can't, because see, my thing is like this. I know a lot of people want to go back to that whole DAC party, but obviously it didn't stem from that, because they would have found out a long time ago. That's I don't want people to go there and start bringing that out, but it's bigger than football. I mean, that's the realest statement I can give right now. Like certain things are bigger than football. What does it say? Like about 2 weeks of recovery time. So that would put him like right in the beginning of.
Well, he's asymptomatic, so it's not even. It's just a quarantine for him. It's not a recovery time because he's showing no symptoms. He just tested positive, which means in return, everybody who's been in his vicinity has to now go get tested. If they get tested, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people who are asymptomatic that don't know they have it, and they're spreading it on. And it's almost, and I hate to say this, y'all, and please don't take it the wrong way. It's almost like a part of me is feeling like everybody's getting it. It's just a case of you either are asymptomatic or you're not. And then you have to fight. If you're not asymptomatic, you got to fight the good fight to get through. There are people right now out of us three. Have you gotten tested for insanity? Because I haven't.
No.
Have you have it?
No.
No, but who's to say all three of us haven't had it, but we're all asymptomatic because we haven't had any symptoms. But look at the people in our lives that we might have come in contact with. Who knows? This is the scary part about it.
Yeah. Especially I know for a fact I got it in December.
You got it?
Yeah, in December when during that time I'm a chef and I was doing events, large scale events in New York City during the holiday season, coming across hundreds, thousands of people a day. And, around late December, I started getting all the symptoms that we know about now. That happened for me in late December. And, once we became more aware of what was going on, and I started backtracking my mind because I was sick in a way I've never been sick in my entire life.
Wow.
And I was backtracking. I was thinking, like, man, like that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And you can't test for the antibodies because it was months ago.
Yeah. So have it back in February. Okay. Now, a lot of y'all already know I co-parent, so I'm always in Dallas, Texas, going to get my sons and stuff like that. But I don't know if y'all remember back in February when I was on a road trip and I picked up my babies. And I brought them all with me, and I wanted to anyway because this world is getting crazy. I wanted to make sure that they were good during all of this. When I got back, matter of fact, before I got back, when I was on the road, it was a road trip I took, I was sick. When I got back home to Florida, and I got back home for 2 days straight, I was feverish and everything. Didn't even think COVID. But I'm bouncing this off. I hope it don't get worse. I was second guessing myself, but it blew over in 2 days. Like I was feverish and everything. And at the time it was like, well, I'm better now. So that I was just a little sick. But there's a lot of people who are saying these things. And there are a lot of people who said it's as early as November. They've had like these massive symptoms, but they were able to overcome it without even going to the doctor. These things, I cannot bypass that these are all possibilities that a lot of people have. It's just a matter of, I don't know. know.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I've said before that, I don't want to go through those 2 weeks again because that wasn't no flu. That wasn't no when you wake up and it feels like someone is sitting on your chest for 2 weeks straight. That's something. And luckily, I get it. I'm of a good age, and reasonably good health. I was able to fight through that. But I think about people like my mother's age, and they may not have the strength to go through that. And you may think, oh, they just had the flu, they just had this or that. It's different. It ain't the flu. Yeah. It's way different than the flu. Like, and we need to be very cognizant that there are a lot of people out here that can't bounce back from this. See, it's not so much about the healthy people getting it and fighting it off as much as we all have mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, older people in our lives that we interact with, they might not be able to fight this off the way we can. So in reality, it's about us looking out for everybody by being safe. And I said this in the comment earlier before, when a lot of the systems that we have are being stressed out right now because you have people who want to be on unemployment, can't get through the system, particularly in Florida. And people are put in a situation where they have to make a decision. Am I going to pay my bills, or am I going to look out for my health? That's a rock and a hard place. That's a position people shouldn't be put in the first place. So, I will say, if you can hold off, do what's best for you regardless. Yeah. But if you can hold off, it's a hard situation a lot of people are in right now.
The whole system is in influx right now. It's kind of crazy in so many different ways, man. And it could be scary for people too, Havoc. It could be scary for people. Like even my mom, man. My mom's freaking out right now because she's a caretaker for my older brother, right?
Okay.
And he goes on walks in the neighborhood and things like that. But even with the social injustice and all that happening right now, his ID expired in February. And she doesn't feel comfortable with him walking around the neighborhood without his identification. And I'm trying to help, and you can't get an ID right now. All the appointments are booked up. Every time I go in at 8 in the morning to try to get the next day, they're all booked right away, and he can't get an ID. And that's something, it's just so much going on right now.
Yeah.
And so many systems are stressed from it. It's unbelievable, man. And a lot of people are struggling in their own way. And I don't even think we've seen the beginning of the struggle.
Yep, it's only begun. And I've said this. I mean, I work more in the diversity space, which is a hot topic now. And I'm trying to tell. It's like sometimes I feel like I've been trying to tell you all this for years. How imperative this fight we're in now. This isn't like a cute thing. This is the sustainability of our society at hand. Yes. But in particular, in regards to the sickness, we're right now we're in a situation where we are aware that many of the systems that we pay for, by the way, we're taxpayers. Many of these systems that we pay for aren't working for us. So, we have to come to an understanding as a society that if we want things, do we want things to run the way they're working now, or do we want things to run in a way that works in our best interest? And right now, I think, sending people off to work as opposed to giving them the funds they need that they can pay their rent, pay their mortgage, pay their bills, and you're sending them into a situation where they have to work, but they're aware of the consequences that can come with working. How do you, like, if you have a child and your child needs food, if you have a family, your family needs food, you need to provide, but you're also putting yourself in a position where you can get your whole family sick. So what do people do? The system that's set up would say, file for unemployment, get your money so you can stay home, stay safe for as long as you can. But in a lot of the states, and I'm from Florida, and it seems like don't even bother applying for unemployment in Florida the way their system is set up. It's designed to not work, essentially. So, we're in a place where a lot of the regular day-to-day people are put in a very difficult position. Do I choose my health, or do I choose my ability to provide for my family? And it's not fair. So, I would say look out for yourself, look out for your family, do the best that you can, but understand that you're not the one at fault. The systems that have been created around you are not working for you. So if the systems aren't going to look out for you and your family, a lot of people are taking it into their own hands. And, we're at a place right now where now that the numbers are going up, do we acknowledge that the numbers are going up and tell the people what is the truth? That, we don't have a hold on this the way we thought we did. Do we tell them the truth, or do we keep moving along? Do we keep chugging along like nothing happened, like things are normal? And it's a question state by state. I'm in New York City. the governor here said that if the rates go up, we're going to put a pause on the reopening. Mm-hmm. So we just started phase 1 last week. So it's a real tough situation. A lot of people are going through. Fortunately, I can wait it out. But I know a lot of people that they're not in that situation. I feel for them.
And it's tough because as I study the system too, Havoc, it's like we could be doing a better job from a systematic standpoint in helping people, but it's only so much the system that we do have in place can do. Because that's the rough part. At some point, money runs out. At some point, there is no money, especially if there aren't people working to pay taxes to keep replenishing the money. So it's a catch-22. And I always say this to people when they act like here in the United States of America, we're exempt. Just go take a look at some of the other countries around the world and how they live versus the way we live. We could easily go right to that. And people don't think that's a possibility. Man, this is a wide conversation, man. And the problem is we continue to face issues in today's world that are so complex that no one really even wants to dive in piece by piece by piece.
True. And I think a large part of the issue is, particularly if you look on TV, you have a lot of people that aren't qualified to have these conversations, trying to have these conversations. And they're filling the atmosphere with a lot of information that's either untrue, unsubstantiated, not based on empirical evidence. So now the people are running off with this information, but they're not finding solutions.
But some may argue, Havoc, not argue with what you're saying, but some might add to what you're saying that in some cases it's intentional.
Well, you can make the argument very easily that we live in a 24-hour news cycle, and the demand for content. Now, this is a situation we're in. We have a demand for content 24 hours a day. I feel there is enough information and news happening. You can fill that void with real information, but it's much easier to play back the greatest hits, right? Like kind of like ESPN. Yep. You would think the Dallas Cowboys are the only football team that exists if you watch ESPN. They keep replaying the greatest hits over and over and over again. It's so easy. It's so much more easier than actually have to tell people and have to research and find out real information.
Facts.
And we let that happen. We allowed that to happen. So once again, I'm going to go back to this. For all these institutions that we support that aren't working for us, what are we going to do about that as a society? At a certain point, we have to stop looking at politicians. We have to stop looking at everybody. We have to look at ourselves. And we have to say, what are we doing about this? This is our country. This country don't belong to the politicians. This country don't belong to the athletes, the entertainers. This is us. 330-something million people. This belongs to us. We're in charge of this. So until we realize that.
And here's the ugly truth. Here's the ugly truth about it. We get more riled up about who we put in office versus what they're going to do in it.
True. And then we look at the national, and we don't realize it's the local that really affects our day-to-day.
Much more impactful for each and every one of our lives.
Yeah, everyone knows who the president is, but do you know who your city council members are? Do you know who your local representative is? All these people that,
who your city commissioners are. Who are your commissioners? Who's your councilman? Who's your mayor? Some people don't even know who their mayor is. And that's a fact. Some people don't even know who their mayor is.
Yep.
So it's like we're jumping so many steps to worry about who's in the White House versus the person who's actually allocating the funds that are coming from Washington in a lot of cases, and in your state representatives, what they're doing with the funds.
Yep.
So it's interesting because a lot of these social programs that could be helping people during this pandemic, a lot of funds come from the federal government. It's your state legislator to allocate them the way that they see fit.
And also,
So-
people need to realize all, especially in regards to this and, the type of the police, all police forces are run locally, right? There isn't national oversight on the police outside of, the Civil Rights Division. All local police forces are basically self-run. So, this is why it's important to understand who your city council is, who your mayor is, who your alderman is, if you have like your comptrollers. All these people are important because all these people, they control the accountability, they control the purse strings, they control everything associated with all the local civil services that we use. And if looking at the national, everything's important, but it's don't be distracted by the shiny object. That's why when you turn on the CNN or you turn on the news, even if you watch local news, a lot of times they don't want to tell you about what's going on locally until the day it's happening. They don't want to tell you about what's going on with your local city council until the day of the election. And then it's like, well, where were you tracking the events that happened leading up to the election that can inform us as to who's doing what? Not to tell us who to vote for, but inform us. Just give us information. So, it seems like, real information, empirical evidence, it sadly, it doesn't have as prominent a role in our discussions and in mainstream media that it should, because real information is not as salacious as people yelling at each other over nothing. And, our current conditioning leads us to just argue and yell and yell and yell. And we're not trying to really fix the issue, but we're just
no
trying
listening either. No listening.
Yeah, no, it's sad. We're just trying to yell.
I hear a current argument: the federal government needs to defund policing. Do people realize defunding policing is on a local government level? Oh, you okay? What's wrong? I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. One moment, y'all. I'll be right back. You got me?
Yeah, we'll try.
Yeah. He brought up an interesting point where he said that it's that many people don't know. People aren't aware, and that's the main problem is awareness. People aren't aware. People don't have the information, and the people, a lot of times the sources that people go to for information aren't reliable. Yeah, go for it.
I don't think it's not necessarily that people don't have the information. They don't look for it. They don't seek for it. It's not as important to them. They just want a quick fix answer, like saying, "Oh, defunding the police." Well, how I was, bringing this point up with my friends. How about they have like consistent training, like hand-to-hand, like combat training with people? Because I mean, if you can teach a guy. Like none of us are going to like go up to an MMA fighter and like go hand to hand one-on-one with him, right? Like even with the whole, and I'm so sorry to bring this young man's name up because what happened to him was egregious. But if two guys aren't capable of bringing you down, then you need some more training. Like, but if you defund the police, like you can form a partnership with local like gyms and I guess jujitsus and different types of like arts and actually get them trained to where they feel more secure with using their hands and their body than first thinking, oh, I need to pull out a gun. There are other alternative options out there, but it just seems like they because they don't know the community as much as they should know them. They just go there, go about their job, patrol, but don't really get to know the people who they're, supposed to protect and serve. They have this, these pre-assumptions about who they are, and they act accordingly to that. Then instead of actually getting the information and getting to know these people, I mean, it takes no talent to walk up to someone and say, "Hey, how you doing today? I'm such and such. I'll be patrolling you. What's your name?" So I wanted to get to know you. Nothing against you, but just one so you would know my face and I would know your face.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Just the whole thing about defunding though is just interesting to me because what happens is they get money, police departments get money from taxpayers' dollars, and they also get money from grants and things like that. So when you defund them, they're still going to get funds. Let's get that straight. They're still going to get funds because they have to operate. Now the chief of police just has to allocate less funds potentially. So what people may not realize is all the chief police has to do is say, okay, we're going to cut the hours of all the crossing guards because they're ran by the police department, just so you know. We're going to cut the hours of the crossing guards. We're going to cut the hours of the community outreach specialists. We're going to cut the hour and come right back to their even amount of money. I mean, it's different. It's not like a federal government can say, oh, this is all because this is a city's decision. The city has to make those decisions, but so people have to go out individually and vote for mayors that's gonna require departments to do X, Y, and Z. So that's why it's like some of the things that are put out, it's like, you know, how do you really get behind something that isn't like reality in so many ways? So that's why it all gets so confusing sometimes. It gets really confusing on what should be the best course of supporting. And we're going to have those detailed conversations. It's just so much going on. That's the problem that we're facing. And a lot of times, I look at football as my relief. I look at football as my relief. It's mine. I get to enjoy something. I get to follow players that can potentially become great. It's just my release. It's my opportunity to love the game and love something outside of day-to-day life. And what happened today was a huge blow because it definitely will send trickle effects down every sporting arena. And make them rethink things. Asymptomatic.
Yep.
That's the whole fear of it all. It's the people who are asymptomatic.
Yeah. It's okay. Go ahead, Finsanity.
I mean, this is probably like I said, like you should do multiple rounds of testing. This is probably like if you look at like the weeks of like how often they should do it and the frequency of it. This is probably like the first round of testing. I'm not saying they haven't, been tested before, but we're getting so much closer to the guys actually, coming into, training camp. So they probably started testing their guys, which due diligence, they're probably going to do it again somewhere, mid beginning July, and then going right into oh, sorry, I just read something that somebody was saying to me. What's the name? So I don't think that this 100% derails the NFL season. What it may really bring into perspective is, only having like that 25% capacity and minimizing, the exposure not only to the fans, but to the players. Because if I'm correct, this is something that is quote unquote airborne, right? So that might be the real question. How do we have fans in the stands and we don't know, even if they're socially distanced? Say you have 10 people who you don't know that are in there, and now it's in the stadium, but you won't know. And I think it stays, I forget how long it stays in the air, but these guys are huffing and puffing and breathing for every little bit of oxygen that they can get. So it's not like it just stays. Wind blows, air travels. So what this to me is going to trickle down to is 9 times out of 10, it might be in the best interest to have empty stands the way that all the European soccer clubs have been doing it. And I think even the Korean baseball. So I think that's where it affects us.
I think now it's going to go further than just not having people in the stands. We got breaking news. It's not just Ezekiel Elliott. Several Cowboys and Texans players test positive for COVID-19. The report just released. Several Cowboys and Texans players test positive for COVID-19. So it's not just an Ezekiel Elliott thing now. They have several people who have tested positive. And this having something to do with Texas seeing a spike in cases as well. That's just those teams. So Ezekiel Elliott is probably the most prominent one, but they say several Cowboys and Texans players have tested positive for COVID-19.
It's interesting. I just want to make a quick aside and then get back to the football. We're in a very different time, and everybody that's on here, you know, we're all people. We all have to not just talk about football or, you know, have the fun of football, but understand that we're in a very trying time right now, and we're not, you know, we're not necessarily like dancing monkeys here to be oblivious to what's going on in society and only talk about football with the blinders on, right? There are so many other things going on, and to say, you know, just to talk about football, you know, I understand this is a football based thing, but the societal issues around football are affecting football as well. Now, I know the Dolphins, they were the first team to put forth a comprehensive plan as to how to have people in the stadium and playing games at the same time. Now, I know the NBA, different circumstances, but I know the NBA, they're going to do the whole bubble situation where everyone's just going to go to one central location. We're going to have a controlled list of guests, and we're just you're either in the bubble or you're out the bubble. When you're out the bubble, you got to get retested to get back inside the bubble. So, you know, I think the question is, are we going to have what's the fan situation going to look like in terms of in the stadium while the players play? Because it seems like if you're in an area where you know it's quote unquote a hotspot, how do you, like, let's say something bubbles up in a week or so, and you have tickets to a game, and all of a sudden they have to cancel. They say, you know what, the game isn't canceled, but we can't let people in. There are it's such a fluid situation. We don't know. We don't know when the season starts. We don't know where we're going to be in terms of this whole pandemic. We have no idea where this whole country is going to be in a few months. So, you know, they're making preparations now, but I think we all need to understand it's a very fluid situation. And it's just getting the players on the field. It seems like a challenge in itself. Getting fans in the stands, I'm not even sure if they can reasonably give you a safe plan to do that. Mm-hmm. It may have to be like you got to sign a waiver to come to the football game.
Oh, it's definitely going to be
be
that. And hold up 1 second. Ford Millis.
I was just gonna read
that. Go ahead, TD, because you already know how I get when I see things in comment section. Go ahead.
And why are you guys so scared of COVID? I've heard of 3 people who've had it, and all 3 are chilling and okay. I'm not even gonna read anymore. I've heard of people who've had it as well who have died.
Yep.
Friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why they're gone. My age, close friends from college who have died. And can we stop talking about the flu? Because right now, give any flu season, we already have 3 times the amount of cases than any flu season. Okay? It's that simple. Well, excuse me, please. I don't want to give false information. Deaths, okay? Deaths.
And my thing is
not
like
cases,
this.
But deaths.
My thing is go ahead, Tini. Sorry.
No, I'm just go ahead, Phins. People dismiss stuff that matters until it affects them, because he did put in there, I've had 3 people who've had it in there A-okay chilling until the 4th person isn't. So everybody feels some type of way until it happens to them or it hits home. So that's why we're worried about it. That's why it's an issue. That's why we don't want our next friend or family member to no longer be on this earth from it. That's why. Just to answer his question, it was a fair question. Let's get this straight. And we're not trying to beat up on Ford Millis. It was a fair question, because that's how that his perception is giving him. It's not nothing to worry about. So I don't want people to feel like, oh, what is Ford? No, but that. So I'm answering his question. I don't want people to make this a divisive thing and a fight back and forth. I love you, Ford. This ain't that. But that's why. Just to answer the question.
Hi, Ford. How are you? I don't want to say it's so much as we are scared. We're just more aware. And we like to keep ourselves aware, and we like to keep ourselves informed about it and what's going on in the world. And for us to just sit here and act like it hasn't taken lives would be a disservice to those, who have lost their lives to this. disease and this pandemic because it was so horribly handled by some of the leadership that we've had in this country. So I will never dismiss this virus until we have as Havoc says, a well executed plan to really like fight this and combat this. And, whether it be a vaccine or a competent treatment to where, there are no longer, deaths. When we can finally say, okay, the curve of it is like, you're more likely that we have a competent, treatment for you, that you're more than likely, to survive it, then maybe we can, skim over it. But as long as, it is what it is, I'm going to look at it. I mean, we had a teacher. He was a football coach, a baseball coach in Jersey who got it, passed away in his sleep, had great health leading up to it. So for us to just sit here and dismiss it, no, it's not that we're scared about it. It's just that we're aware of what it can do to some of those who are more susceptible to not being able to fight against it. And the thing about it is that it has taken the lives of various age ranges. So we can just put it like this. It ain't safe for nobody right now. And if you were to ask, a lot of people, and you say, hey, you have a 70% chance of you go to this game that you could contact COVID, a lot of them would say it ain't worth it. Even 50% of them would say it ain't worth it. I'll stay at home. And that goes to us season ticket holders, because we also have to be, responsible, because we have to take care of one another too. Because if you're going to be going to these games, make sure, you're doing the right things. You're following the rules. You're washing your hands. You're covering your mouth when you cough, even though you have that mask. Take the extra dab on them. Like it ain't nothing, to it, but to do it. So if y'all want to talk about government conspiracies and all that, that's something y'all can do in y'all personal time. What I will say is that I know people who have passed away from it. I know that I can't, go see my great aunt, right now, who's on hospice because of potentially exposing it to her. And I don't get the chance to say goodbye to her. So, I mean, every person's experience is different. I'm glad that the people, who you've come in contact with have been A-okay, as you put it. But the real fact of it is not everyone has been A-okay from it.
That's a fact. It's I don't want to talk about it too much longer, because I'm not here to debate whether it's whether it exists or not, whether it's killing people or not. That debate for me is over. What I will say is, and what we're all becoming very aware of, is just because something doesn't directly affect you on Monday doesn't mean Friday can be a totally different situation. Just because you may not know anybody that it has killed or anything of that nature does not mean that it's still not out there. And we're right now, especially you're talking about the NFL, talking about multi-billion-dollar business. If let's say one of the more notable athletes of any sport catches it and passes away from it, I mean, I don't think we're going to be having conversations about, well, it's like a flu, but it's not. It's not that bad, but it is for some people, but it's not. It's like, no, if LeBron James gets corona and ends up in the ICU, the whole conversation on this is taking a dramatic shift. So I just say err on the side of caution, because a lot of these players out here, a lot of these players, their whole family depends on them to support the whole family, right? And a lot of these guys, their whole family lives with them, so they may go home to their mother, their grandmother, their grandfather. They're all at the house. So just be mindful that just because it has not directly affected you does not mean that it is not effective. And let's bring incredibly effective.
Yeah, and let's bring it full circle back to football, since a lot of people want to talk about it, in the football and the sports realm. Do you know what happens if a player tests positive for COVID during the season?
Yeah, that's why.
We ain't talking about Super Bowl in February.
Season's done.
It's over. Everything.
I'll go out on a limb to say season might be over now. I mean, and the reason why I say that is we keep talking about test everybody, and then if everybody's okay, let's go. What does that have to do with when they go to practice the next day and then they go home? And their valet hands them their keys or whatever. They will always be at risk. They will always be at risk. So these things, it doesn't do anything but make things scary. And I hate to tell y'all that, but my thoughts are this situation right now that we're talking about could literally derail this season. Mm-hmm. It could literally derail the season. Conversations may have to be had again. Because remember, it was the NBA has players, not really many from the NFL we haven't heard of. Now we're getting closer to start time and multiple players from 2 teams testing positive.
Because you see how even the NBA is still struggling on about, should they start and all this stuff. And it took them what is it, like we're going on like 3 months now, possibly? Yeah. Could you imagine 3 months of the NFL season being taken away? Like, do you understand that's like 12 games? Yeah. You understand that's like 12 games? That means you're left with 4. What are they going to do with 4 games?
Yeah. And the NBA canceled the season while teams were still playing games. Like, Gobert tested positive, and then the NBA said, we're shutting down the whole thing. We're shutting down the whole
got shut down. NCAA got shut down.
It's a liability.
100%.
It is a liability. Mm-hmm. Your employer is asking you to put your life at risk. So if they test positive based off of your negligence, you are held liable. So no sporting league is going to take that chance. So if players are testing positive and they are asking players to come out and play and giving them that type of risk, unless they all sign waivers, they can be held liable.
Mm-hmm. And good luck on getting, as much as people who have committed themselves to being the best athlete they can and love the game. A lot of these guys, I would say most of these guys, they love their family more. And the thought of not going home to see their family, or the thought of giving something to a family member that can have permanent ramifications, that's a hard contract to sign. At least in my perspective, that's a hard contract to sign, where I'm going to absolve you of all liability if something happens to you, and I can't provide for my family anymore. Come on, man. That's a hard pill to swallow.
This situation, man. Because listen, and for those who say, "Do we have to talk about this?" Listen, when you turn on ESPN tomorrow, what do you think they're going to be talking about? Mm-hmm. Nothing but this. When you turn it on right now, what do you think they're talking about?
I think.
What NFL do you think every banner?
NFL Live comes on in like 23 minutes, and that's probably what's going to be leading.
Every banner at the bottom of the screen, I'm sure, has
breaking news.
It's sports, man.
Yep,
it's sports.
Yep, and it's life.
I'm telling you, the season is in jeopardy, y'all. The season is in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. We were hoping that you just don't hear anything and we start playing football, but the season is in jeopardy, man, because right now the cases are going up, which is giving more exposure. And what you're basically asking is, once the end of July comes, you're asking for no player to test positive for 4 months. That's what you're asking. You're asking for no player to test positive for 4 months. Because one player tests positive, the season is over if it happens during the season. This is going to be, man, I'm telling you now, Goodell and everybody's probably like,
I think we just have to, I think you have to hope for the best, but you have to live in reality. Mm-hmm. We can all hope, and I want to see the season, especially with the team we have. I want to see them in training camp. I want to see them play games. I want to see it all. But you have to understand the NFL, particularly almost every commissioner of every major professional league has a background as a lawyer. They're not going to put players in a position. Well, they're not going to put players in a position where if they get injured or they lose their life, that they're going to be held liable. And all of a sudden, you're asking a whole group of billionaires to pony up money to pay off a loan.
It would bankrupt the league. And Miles I like what Miles said. He said COVID will always be here, so we're just gonna have to adapt to it. No point in canceling and hiding from this in the future. But Miles, the difference is you have to cancel and hide from it until there's at least some type of remedy to it. Yep. I mean, the flu, the same thing. At least there's a flu shot. At least there's a flu shot. And I don't take shots anyway. I don't do none of that mess. But I'm just saying, at least there's that in place. But just imagine, I mean, oh my gosh.
It's tough.
It is what it is.
It is. Yes, it is. It's, and yeah, I think until there's some sort of a cure or a vaccine or something, these conversations aren't going to stop. I mean, if you don't like it in June, you're not going to like it in July, August, September. It's going to keep until there's a cure and until we can treat. There's a treatment for this, the way you can treat a host of other respiratory diseases.
Wow.
We're this. You can't ignore this. You can't ignore something that can literally shut down the whole league. Like they're not going to shut down the whole league over the flu, pneumonia, anything of that nature. But with this thing out here, it's killed 100,000 people in this country alone in 3 months that we know of. Man, we can't play around with that. You can play around with that in your personal life if you want to, but I personally, I'm not playing around with that at all. I felt that before. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, everybody has their decision to make, man. Engraven Viz said that's the advantage, though. Well, that's NFL's advantage, though. Unlike other leagues that got canceled during their season, NFL has the advantage since their season hasn't started yet. So that gives NFL a chance to have a backup plan. The interesting thing about that, Engraven, they do have the advantage of time to plan.
Yep.
But the issue is what that plan is going to be. How creative can they get to still provide a product? Because at the end of the day, the one thing I don't see the NFL being able to survive, their product requires players playing. So whatever plan they want to put in place, just remember it would have to be a 4 or 5 month plan. And again, you can't put the NFL in a bubble like the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put the NFL and all their family members in a bubble like the NBA. So you're right, but what would that plan be? So I would go out on a limb to say I don't see them making a plan for this. But again, that's why they're brilliant minds making them brilliant, that big money, because it's their job to figure out how to still put a product out. It's their job to figure out how to still put a product out. But again, I don't see what product you put out to overcome this. How you can, this ain't even about fans in the stands. I'm beyond that. I'm beyond fans in the stands. My thing is players on the field huffing and puffing, as physical as can be. You might as well be rolling in bed together. So it's their well-being. What kind of plan can they put together? I don't know. Do they like saran wrap their whole bodies and let them play football? I don't know, but that I don't see how they put the plan that'll overcome giving the players that risk of catching COVID, because all it takes is one.
Yep. And I feel like we need to, we're in a situation where, innovation and safety standards, they need to meet. Now, I know the NBA is saying get everybody in the bubble. And if you're inside the bubble, that means you're tested and you're free and clear. Can you do that? Is there an NFL equivalent to that? Because number one, it's so many more people. NBA rosters got, how many? 15 people plus you got staff, coach, stuff like that. NFL rosters got 53 people, coaches, trainer. I mean,
in preseason.
And you talk about the preseason. What I was talking about was just the regular season, and the preseason's even more people. You're talking about you're trying to move hundreds of people to one facility to play a game. I mean, it's, you know, we're either going to have to accept that the risk is out there and we're gonna have to play with the risk out there, or it's hard because the fans are such a fundamental part of the game. Like the home, like you go to Seattle, their crowd is the 12th man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's such a like the home field advantage. It's been proven the home field advantage is real, and if you take that atmosphere out of the game, how do you put that energy into the game? Because if there aren't fans there, it looks like a really nice scrimmage. Like I've seen scrimmages before in person.
Wow.
I've seen tape of scrimmage. It's great, but it ain't the same thing as a game.
Oh man, did you just say a really nice scrimmage? Havoc, you know what? Comment of the week already, because nothing I can even come up with is going to top that. So comment of the week already, a really nice scrimmage. Wow.
It's just a scrimmage.
Listen, I don't put it, behind that. It's probably going to start off a little bit slow, but I mean, these guys are, competitors and stuff. And I mean, I think they'll get into the swing of things, and like once they get used to it, it'll be kind of more of like go, like, but I can see that. Like I said, like, but I don't think guys are going to, necessarily take off plays and stuff like that. It's just like the energy. I get what you're saying. The energy, the hype, the adrenaline going and all that. Like, how do you get that to just, shoot up that quick? Well, first of all, don't shoot them with adrenaline. You don't want that. Somebody might go low too soon, take somebody's knee out. But I think there's something that they're just gonna have to get acclimated to. Something we're gonna have to get acclimated to. I mean, I've been watching soccer, and I see how now it's picking up in the Bundesliga, and how like it really seems like the guys are like used to not having the what's in it, but they're pumping crowd noise in there, and like you can hear like it kind of gives you some semblance. It's just not as loud and as passionate, because I mean I love soccer. Like people will tell you, I really will spend my Saturdays watching various leagues of soccer. A la Madrid. Shout out to y'all for
wake up early to watch that too, especially if you want to watch it live. You gotta watch it. We gotta wake up early to watch that.
But they'll get to it. By week 3-4, they'll be okay, I think.
Yeah.
And I think once the trash talk gets going, it's gonna be that one person who says the right thing at the right moment. And then it's going to be like, all right, bet, game on. But I mean, they're natural competitors, whether it be, the wide receivers versus the cornerbacks, the defensive line versus the offensive line, the quarterback, just in general, how he likes to talk trash. I mean, some of them are nice about it, and some of them is like, man, listen, if you're going to let me have these throws all day, I'm going to just take you apart. Like, wake up. Like, they're going to wake up real fast. So,
yeah. Or else, they're going to have Christian Wilkins talk and be like, hey, man, be nice. Be nice. All right.
He's so sweet. It's not even funny. He's
they
nice.
need to just start a NFL Madden tournament and let me enter so I can win it.
You said win it?
Yeah, I'm gonna win it. I would win
the tournament.
Yes, win it.
I've seen some tape, TD.
Hey, watch my tape on after the 18th when my new controller come in. That tape gonna be different, man. That tape's gonna be different. Hey, you seen the 7-year Tannehill tape. You ain't seen the Tennessee tape yet. When the controller comes, you're gonna see the Tennessee tape.
Look, man,
are you committing to playing with Tennessee? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just using a good analogy to it. Y'all used to, when y'all see me play Madden, you see my 7 years with the Dolphins. But when that new controller come in, baby, you about to see that Tennessee Tannehill.
Yeah, no, trust me, TD. We're all waiting on the PS5 right now.
Yeah, you kind of lost us.
Right now, I got a little payback to give to several people that think that they did something.
Oh
they did.
Oh man, it's business time. Time to start giving people a business.
Yes,
I have that same energy when I go online, and I'm just like, it's time to handle business, and then I get handled, and I stop playing for a week. But if you can handle that,
He keeps
Bro, go
coming
for
back
it.
every Friday for that seating.
All will be cured real soon. Don't worry.
No.
First game, he'll be blowed out. Hey, listen, you'll see. I listen. All right, agree to disagree. Let's just move on from it because I'll just have to show some of y'all better than I can tell you. I'm gonna leave that whole conversation alone, man. Oh man, it's crazy, but I did want to give some facts here, which is interesting to me. Hold on. My bad. 1 second. All right. Give me a second. Oh, I just lost it. Let me pull it back up. All right.
Yeah. Although speaking of Madden, I mean, me and EM, we're friends on the PSN network, and I've seen some of his trophies. He's putting in the work. I'm not playing you. I'm not paying you, EM. That won't go. That will not go well for me. I'm leaving that alone. Don't send me
EM?
Yeah, he's nice. He's nice on the Madden.
Yeah, he ain't nice.
He's nice on the Madden.
Listen, man, Havoc, you making yourself look bad by saying he's nice in Madden.
Hey, I'm not the greatest in Madden. I'm a franchise mode guy. Now, when it comes to FIFA, you want to talk about FIFA? That's a totally different discussion.
And listen,
yeah,
I never got into Madden. As much as I tried, I tried. I bought it for a couple years, just thinking, oh, okay, and I really just can't. I really think that one is for y'all.
On the real, I mean, as I think the game is really buoyed by the fact that so many people just love the NFL and they just want a game to play. But on the real, Madden has not changed their formula in a solid 20 years. You know, we have the brand new catch animations. Man, the game's still the same. But that's just an agreed Madden fan.
So I wanted to give these facts real quick, guys. And this is why COVID concerns me. Okay. Because we keep on, I don't know, a lot of people keep comparing it to the flu for some reason. The flu on average has between about 39,000 and 56,000 cases per year. Okay. Now, those who die from the flu is 24,000 to 62,000 a year. So when you put that in perspective with COVID right now is under 3 million cases. Now, remember, the flu has up to 56 million cases a year. COVID is almost up to 3 million cases. Not even close to as many cases of the flu. But yet, COVID has over 120,000 deaths, and the flu takes between 24 and 62,000 lives a year. So that's why I'm concerned. Imagine COVID-19 having the amount of cases as the flu. Imagine COVID-19 being 20 times what it is now. That would be over 2 million deaths a year. If there were the same amount of cases as the flu. If it had the same amount of cases as the flu, it would be over 2 million deaths per year. And the flu takes 24 to 60,000 lives a year. So putting it in comparison, come on, man. Come on. People think that 1% death rate is something to whatever about. When the flu may have a 0.02 death rate, there's a huge difference when you really look at the numbers. Less cases and more deaths. And when I say less cases, 20 times less cases, but more than 2 times the deaths.
And no cure.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting, like, because I come from a family of medical professionals. My mom's sister, my mom's retired now. My sister's a nurse. And, I even told my mom, just so she can stay at home more, I'm sending her food, like in the mail. Like I buy food and I have a box of produce sent to her every other week. So she don't have to leave the house. She don't have to expose herself. Like the concern is real. And as time goes on, we don't know the situation we're going to be in months from now. I think the NFL and just all of us personally, we just do the best that we can just to be as safe and as mindful as possible. Like, for example, what happened in Queens 2 days ago, some lady was in line at a coffee shop with no mask on, and people in the coffee shop were telling her, hey, put a mask on. And she went up to one of those people, coughed on them, and ran out the store. Like, that's just an example of when you take, you don't have to believe it, because the facts are the facts. Empirical evidence is empirical for a reason. But when people who have legitimate concerns about this, we have to respect that. Now, if you personally do not believe in these things, free country, it's your body, it's your health. But there are a lot of people who are concerned. So I just hope going forward we just move in a mindful manner, in a way that has everyone's health at the forefront. Because once you lose your health, you can't get that back. Don't matter how much money you have, you can't buy that back.
Oh man, it's tough.
Well, let's just put it this way, in perspective. Insanity 5 will not be at a single game this year. I may go see Russell Wilson if they allow us to, and Patrick Mahomes. But other than that, that's too risky for me. And I really feel like the NFL should not have fans in the stands. And I know that takes away from our personal experience. And I know a lot of people invest season ticket money into it. But nah. Hey, Esteban, how you doing? He's one of my favorites. I miss Esteban. I miss Esteban. I miss him. Yeah, that's Esteban. I miss him. Make sure you come back.
Said put on the dang mask. Don't be foolish.
And listen. I will gladly roll over all my payments to next year. So when we're playing like the Bucks and the Saints and all of them, I'll gladly roll it over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just put that on my account for next year. I'll be okay.
2021, 22, 2023. Hopefully all these times are going to be a lot brighter. So, don't let immediate inconvenience become a long-term inconvenience. If we handle this situation right now, we won't have to worry about it later. Mm-hmm. So, the name of the game is try and keep as many people as healthy as possible. I mean, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. That's the end game. If you don't have your health, nothing else matters. So as long as we're just moving forward, and also, a lot of people on here, we're not we're not in the hot spot of who disproportionately is more affected by this disease. Then it's a lot of people out here, and people you don't even know. That lady that coughed on someone at the coffee shop, she doesn't know that lady's medical status. You don't know what that lady has. You don't know what underlying conditions this woman may have. If you may see her, she look like a young person, but you don't know what she's dealing with internally. So you trying to make a point by coughing on her, but realistically, you may have given that woman something you don't even know about. So just it's not about imposing anything as much as you don't know who's dealing with what. So we all got to be cautious. Is my main point.
Yes.
And plus, I would have to travel, so that's even
protect
more
yourself best you can. And listen, man, football. At the end of the day, the football matter of it all is this is a huge blow for us to get football back. We're gonna have to see how the NFL responds to this. What their take is, what it means for their current plans. I already know they're going to say the plans still remain the same, but we'll adjust when we get closer to that time. Again, nobody's going to be able to ignore the risk. That's all it is at the end of the day. Nobody's going to be able to ignore the risk. So we'll see what happens over time. I don't know. Any other thoughts, guys?
I said my piece, Fins up. That's it. All day, every day.
Fins up forever, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in to TD Fins Talk. And hey, as we get more news, we'll make sure that we bring it up to you. Glad to see that our players are doing what they have to do regardless. They're out there training. They're getting better. Like I said to y'all this morning, Tua's recovery is going miraculously. That's a big ups. Hopefully we get Kemp, and if not, we'll know why. But love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in to TD Fans Talk, home of the real Miami Dolphin fans. We will see y'all soon. Y'all be safe out there, man. Peace. We out, y'all.